Hi everyone, very good morning, good evening. Welcome back to ITOM batch 3 day 9. How are you doing guys today?
Good morning, Jay.
I
Doing
am
good?
good. And you?
Yeah, doing good, Ajay.
Good. I'm also good guys. Thank you so much. So again, before proceeding to the next class today, do you have any questions on any topic which we have discussed till now? From anyone?
No, Ajay, not right now.
Farida, you are already unmute. Do you want to mute yourself? I'm not able to hear you, but somehow not sure why. No, he don't. Now you are on mute, Farida. Okay, so till the time Farida is figuring out. I think it will be good if you can rejoin the session. Okay, sure. Thank you. So I ask any is anyone having any questions related to the topics which we have covered till now? If no, I have one question from you all of you. So we discussed yesterday about discovery pre-req. Anyone remember what are the topics or what are the pre-req we have discussed yesterday?
Couple of things with the perspective discovery, like three, four things are there. The very first thing is like we should be having the plugins enabled, and once we have those plugins enabled, uh, the second thing is like moving to the mid server, configuring the mid server. Uh, Before setting up the mid server, we should be having a mid server account with the proper role uh, and mid server admin role to the account, and we need to see like the ports are open in the firewall, and we should be having a proper credentials in place.
Okay, nice. Thank you. Anyone else wants to add?
Credentials and the credentials.
Right, Pallavini.
So when he says like mid-server admin role to be given, is it mid-server admin or discovery admin?
No, mid server admin nahi. That he mentioned on mid server when you want that mid server required local admin credentials to access, so you can perform your activities on it.
Okay, yeah.
Ways meaning about that, right? So anyone else wants to add anything on that side? Anyone remember the plugin name of the discovery and what other plugins are going to be activated with that?
That would
Club,
be
club,
cloud provisioning.
club,
Uh,
hold.
Sorry,
Let's speak someone else. I know
sorry.
you're aware about it, but yeah, let me ask to someone else if anyone able to provide. Farida, sorry, we are not able to hear you if you are trying to speak.
Ajay, the plugin is like SNC Discovery.
Name, what is the complete name of that?
Uh, Discovery plugin and com.snc.discovery.
Right, yes.
Yeah, there's a one plugin, and I think other plugins also need to be installed. That is a cloud provisioning, uh, the one,
Okay,
and the other one is also part of ITOM license plugin.
okay. What
Those I
else?
can remember.
Okay.
And regarding mid server part, you mentioned yesterday DC and CR. One is
DC and
sorry,
DR.
DR, right?
Yeah.
DR. Yeah, those two. And the port is important.
Right. So do we need to install, not you, but do we need to install the cloud provisioning and item licensing plugin by ourselves, or how that will be activated?
It is by default is there. Once you uh, activate the plugin, discovery plugin, it will automatically all other plugins are there.
Right, Pratikant. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think let's get started then with the next topics, which is prereq again. But now we are going to be deep dive into on the specific plugin requirements, or not specific plugins we have, assuming we have installed. Let's start with the discovery plugin or discovery prereq. First is mid server. So let's discuss about that, in detail. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, right. So as you mentioned, when we are going to install, or when we are going to start discovery plugin is installed.
You upload it. Yes. So now go to the microphone settings of the Skype and then choose the microphone. It should show you the new microphone that you just plugged in.
Okay, so let's assume that discovery plugin is activated on my on my instance, and that can be.
Click on that. Okay, microphone. Okay, yes, okay. Click on the second one. Or the one you had it. Which one is the one?
Sorry, guys. Yeah. So we enable. Farida, can you go on mute? Thank you. Right. So we assuming that plugin is activated on dev and test from our side, but on the prod, it's going to be activated from ServiceNow portal, ServiceNow High portal, or that, ServiceNow representative or ServiceNow account executive who are responsible for that particular account, right? So once my plugin is activated, the next thing comes in the mind to start or to enable the prereq for discovery is mid server, right? So what is mid server? How we are going to be installed? What is prereq for the mid servers? Let's talk about that one, right? So the first thing is in prereq, a mid server, we required Windows Server 2012 or greater than, right? So that is the first prereq. We cannot install mid application on any Windows 7, Windows 10 type of devices. Earlier that is possible when I started, when we are able to install the mid server on our laptop as well, but now not now. ServiceNow little bit restrict that particular things while upgrading, and they have purely mentioned mid server 2012 or greater than is a Windows Server 2012 or greater than is required only to install the mid applications. And we have to be ensure when we are asking customers to provide a Windows server with at least .NET Framework 3.5 and PowerShell version 3.0 should be installed. Basically, it's a couple of times that is by default going to be installed with Windows, but we have to be ensure due to some customer they are not allowing to install those one, but we have to be ensure that should be installed on that particular Windows server. Second thing is we can use the Linux flavor of machines as well. So Linux Red Hat 6 plus 1 6 more than 6 plus versions we can use. We can use Ubuntu 14 plus version and the CentOS 6 plus version. Now thing is come when I'm talking about server specifically, what is that? How we are getting that particular server, right? It can be physical, or it is physical required, or it is virtual required, right? So here it depends on the customers. When we are doing discussions or doing workshops with the customer, we are highlighting that are we required, but it's not mandatory we required a physical machine or virtual machine. We required any of them, but we required in that data centers which is accessible from all locations, and we can discover from one data centers to all locations. Or if we are not able to do that, then we have to replace a Windows server in different data centers based on the network understanding of their customer infra, right? So we will ask that one. We will just providing that information. We required a Windows server with this particular capacity or capabilities, and they will provision that particular Windows server in their data center infrastructure, and will provide you that IP address or host name or the credentials to install your mid applications, right? Now, on top of it, Windows server, what is minimum configuration you required, or on Linux servers, what minimum configuration you required to run your mid application, right? So we required at least 40 GB hard disk. We required at least 8 GB memory, and we required at least multi-core or multi-CPU allocated at least 4 core CPU, right? And system should be 64-bit. Now, again, mid application is you cannot install on 32 bit systems basically, right? And basically these are the standard things which we required. But here is a catch. If you are going with this particular 40 GB 8 core or 4 core CPU, what I feel, you are facing a lot challenges that will, you are not able to install your mid applications because your system is running very, very slow, right? That I feel. So I always recommend, or I always use, based on my understandings, at least 100 GB hard disk to run my application, right? At least 16 GB RAM or 8 core CPU. So the performance of the Windows server or Linux server should be smooth, and I can install mid applications without any issue. Also, once my mid application is installed, my discovery is running, I have to lot couple of time to be log in that mid server to troubleshoot the issues, right? So I will prefer that should be running without any lag or without any performance issue. So I'm just preferring that one over the whatever the service now documentation mentioned, which is the basic configuration or basic requirement of the infra, right? Second thing, we ensure a validated connection from the server to be monitored, and the mid servers, right? So we need to ensure, like, our mid server or Windows server, basically not mid will after we are installing the mid applications, but the Windows server should be monitored by their monitoring capabilities or monitoring source, so we can ensure our our Windows server is monitoring, and if there's any issue happening, we will get any notifications that is down due to any patch upgrade, or that is any failure or of it, right? Also, in production environment, as I mentioned here, we should configure at least 2 mid server to support zero touch configuration, and ensure that a mid server is always available if one fails, right? It just only for uh, backup, right? It's not necessary, but it just only for backup. So we have at least 2 mid server for one location. So if anyone or one mid server is going to be down, the services or the discovery schedule which is running is not impacted, and the things will be running smoothly, and we can troubleshoot and we can fix the another mid servers that particular time. So basics configurations, as I mentioned, these are the particular things which we required. Now, as I mentioned, how many mid servers required? I see that particular questions lots of time with lots of folks. How we are going to be understand how many mid servers is required? Basic mid server, as I mentioned, one for dev, one for test, and one for or two for prod, right? That is the standard things which is service now also mentioning. But we have to be understand, we have to be analyze their locations, their access, and their availability, and based on that we are giving a mid server or Windows server count which we required from them to install our mid applications. If they have multiple data centers, if that is not connected to each other, definitely we required multiple mid servers. If they have Azure and AWS, definitely we required again one mid server in Azure, one mid server in AWS, right? it depends basically, right? So how we are going to be discover. And but mid server we required must. Without mid server we cannot run the discovery. In cloud side we can do that, but again, if mid server is there, let security things a little bit high, and we can observe and we can see that things are going via mid server only. And if any security threat will be there, their complete infrastructure and other things is not directly exposing to, we are not exposing directly to ServiceNow instance, we are exposing to mid server only. So things will be controlled, and we can, follow the security guidelines by the any organizations as well as the standard security guidelines to be proceed further. And one more thing I always mention, make sure you are not connecting your prod mid server, sorry, you are not connecting your dev and test mid servers to their prod infrastructure. Try to ensure like in discovery side, uh, just we ensure you are following the standard guidelines or standard process of their security compliance for which customer you are implementing. Couple of customers not allowed to connect their dev test mid servers or dev test Windows server or tester environment or June mid servers to their prod environment due to their security standards or policies, right? So we have to be understand that particular things. Always see, always I always recommend connect your dev test to their dev test or instances or whatever, that if you're doing integration, so their dev tests that particular applications. And the same way you just connect prod to prod only, right? Not with mismatching of that environment. You should avoid that to be connect, right? So this is the basic requirement. When what infra we required, what other things we required for the mid server. Any questions in that one? Yeah, someone raise hand.
Hi, Ajay.
Yes,
Uh, may I?
yeah, of course, of course.
Okay. You mentioned that we should be having some certain configuration for the mid server. If it
Mhm.
is not, um, you have seen a performance issue and all. So
Mhm.
how big the network is, which require enhanced configuration for the mid server, wherein 100 GB and 16 GB of RAM is required. So how big the network is, which is required to be get supported by such kind of a configuration.
Oh, so that can, as of now, as I mentioned already, in one discovery schedule, I think you can put 10,000 IPs, right? And you have to be split the IPs if you are running for a big infrastructure. So that we have to be take care. But again, that particular mid, why I'm just putting 100 GB, because you are on 100 GB hard disk, you are going to be store the logs only on that mid server. You are not going to be used for any other purposes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just only for troubleshooting. So 100 GB hard disk is more than enough, right, to be store the logs or that agent files of the mid servers, right? Second thing, why I put it 16 GB RAM, right? So in 16 GB RAM, your system performance will be good. Also, some RAM you can allocate to JVM memory as well, right? So it will good to allocate memory to JVM and all other things. I will showcase you how you can allocate JVM memory when we are installing the mid server, right? So these are the basic things which we have to be take care basically. So that's why I deviated, or I'm not agreed with what ServiceNow says. But as I what ServiceNow mentioning, the mid server can install on that type of configuration as well, but it will be running slow. And what I feel, if system is running slow for you as well when you're logging to or working something on it, it's very frustrated that particular time, right? If you're
No,
running slow, and it will also assume or get something correct, it will also running slow while you're running the discovery as well.
no. My idea of asking this particular question related to the configuration is, my network is having more than 70,000 devices and all. So if I have to just go back to admin and asking for my mid server, like, to increase it as per the 10,000 devices. So he definitely, first of all, would be the advocate to send me out of the organization.
Definitely agree. So that's why I'm saying now, in that particular case, one mid server is sufficient, but you just need to be split out that 75,000 IPs in different 7 or 8 discovery schedules. Right, and the discovery schedule should be run after once first is completed and in off business hours, then it will able to manage everything without any issue. And I hope you are, if you are already running in that way or not, you are able to see that changes basically.
Okay. Would like to just discuss a little more discovery schedules. How we can just streamline it to have it like one after another. Probably like I need to understand that thing a little more from you.
Definitely, when we are moving to discovery schedule, I will showcase you in the end of that session today. But when we are coming to discovery schedules, how we are going to be configure, what things we have to be taken care, we'll discuss on that part as well.
Just one more thing. Just keep in mind. I would like to also understand, because you are repeatedly saying that in production we should be having 2 mid server, or probably like 3 mid server, in order to have the failover or like backup and all those. So probably like showcase that how we can just configure that when we are configuring the mid server.
Okay, so just for your curiosity, let me share my screen. Let me see if my instance is ready. Okay, till the time my instance is opening, let me go to the next slide. Okay, I will showcase you that particular things basically, no issues. Right, so here I just help out to showcase that with instances basically. Again, that the same thing here. Dev test one mid server and prod have 2 mid servers. But actually, what is mid server? Now let's talk about that one. Right. We always say is mid server, but it's not a mid server basically. It's just a application which we installing on any Windows server or Linux servers. That's why we called mid server. The same way, if you install a database application on any Windows server or Linux machine, and after that you are saying it's a Oracle database, right? But end of the day, that is a simple OS which is running on that machine. You install some different another application on top of it, right? The same way, Mid Server is a lightweight Java applications that run as a Windows service or Unix daemon, right? So once you install Mid application on that particular machine or Windows server, it will run in the services basically as a Windows service and Unix daemon, right? That must be hosted on Windows to discover Windows and Linux. Now, I just ask you if someone knows or that help me out. Why we are preferring Windows Server to install mid applications? Is there any specific reason?
Yeah.
Okay, not Eklavya, you. Let me ask to someone else before that, and then you. Anyone knows any idea why only Windows Server we are asking to get that, to install or to run the discovery? No, guys,
No
but
idea.
no
Yeah,
issue.
hi Ajay. I think the installation process for mid server in the others, like in the Linux, it's a bit of difficult rather than doing it in the Windows. Windows is more like relatively easy to install the mid server.
Yes, right. What else? Okay. Yes, Eklavya. Now you can.
Yeah, it is about the compatibility. Compatibility with the perspective of like if you have the mid server on Windows, it have the capability of exploring and discovering Unix as well as Linux servers. But wherein if it is on the Linux, it will be only exploring and finding the Unix servers. Sorry, Linux servers only, instead of like having the Windows.
Right, exactly. So that Because it's one thing which is Mastan you mentioned, that is something usable things, right? So if we are going to install on Windows machine, that we are easy to navigate, easy to configure the things instead of the Linux. But the main reason to installing mid application on Windows server is whatever Eklavya mentioned, right? So if we are installing on Windows machine, the mid application, it's compatible with all type of all flavors of OS. That can be network devices, that can be OS, Linux, CentOS, whatever, and Windows, right? But if you are installing on Linux, then it's not compatible with all other Windows flavor mostly, right? It compatible with network, it compatible with Linux, Unix, and all, but it's not compatible because Linux machine not able to run the WMI commands and WBME test from their side to collect the data. So that's why we are more preferring to install Windows machine for especially discovery side on Windows machine. And end of the day, that things are smooth, or we are easy to use it on, and we can do troubleshootings in Windows Server easily. That's why that is of one of the big reason as well. If we are doing on installing on the Linux machine, that sometimes we cannot do those particular things, right? So that is the reason, right? Now the third thing is job 6 execute props pattern and return the result back to the instance for processing through the mid server only. Set the supported application in ServiceNow to discovery. This is one of the big component here. Set the supported applications. What is that? Let me tell you. So whenever you are going to be install a mid server, that is a purpose why you are going to be install a mid server. So mid server is not only going to use for discovery. Mid server can be used for event management solutions. Mid server can be used for service mapping. Mid server can be used for metric intelligence. Mid server can be used for your automations. Mid server used for cloud management part. And apart from that, mid server can be used for your LDAP or SSO integrations. Mid server can be used for integrations with third party systems, right? Now the applications for which we are going to use mid servers, that is required and mandatory to select if we are using for discovery. Otherwise, what will happen if we are using we are not aligned any applications to the mid server, that will be going to use for multiple things. So we have to be little focused, and we have to be allow that mid server is purely dedicated to discovery only, or it's dedicated to ITOM, where you can also do service mapping or discovery in single mid servers. That can be also possibility, right? But if you are doing event management, you should require another mid servers to do that event management solutions, right? If you are doing integrations, definitely you require another mid servers to do that, right? So be little understand that particular things. And apart from that applications, there is one more thing, capabilities. So which capabilities you want to use that mid servers? Let me give an example here. If your mid server is only for discovery, and the capabilities are WMI, SSH, SNMP, or there are a lot of capabilities, right? But if you want that particular mid server is very specific to run discovery on Windows or SNMP type of devices, you can add that capability there, and it will not work for Linux machine again. So it's up to us how we want to be configured through the mid servers, or also we can control that particular thing which I'm mentioning through the behaviors as well, right? But mid server will be act in that case, but behavior can control what we want to be discover, what flavors of we want to be discover, right? So that is thing. Next is mid server cannot be shared between instances, right? So as I mentioned, just try to make sure your mid server which you are going to use, dev specific mid server is going to use for dev, means the different IP, different host name should be there. Before the test is different IP, different host name, and before the prod, different IP, different host name. What will happen most of the time, which I observe, single mid server on single Windows server, basically not mid server, single Windows server, you can install multiple mid applications. It's just like that, we are using a phone, and we are using on our phone two WhatsApp application. What is not one is normal WhatsApp, and what one is business WhatsApp, right? The same way, we can also do the same thing. Mid applications, multiple mid applications and multiple mid services can be run on a single Windows server, but we should avoid that. We should only focus that particular Windows server to the focus environment basically, right? So different IP, different hostname, different things will be there, and different infra completely will be provided by the customer to connect with the dev, test, and prod. We have to be ensure that one, right? Now, if I talk about the production side, so redundancy is needed in the production environments. Basically, if the things is not configured properly, you cannot, in simple words, if I say, that your business or your discovery schedules and other things will be impacted, right? May be relaxed in some production, as I mentioned here, considering using 204 MB of JVM memory, right? So as I mentioned, we can increase the JVM memory. This is, I think, coming by default 2048, but you can, if you increase the JVM memory, your processes or your transactions will be happening little fast that side, right? Set the tuning to 125 threads. So 125 threads is just on again mid server configuration. So if we are putting 125 threads, again that is a standard, but threads means the connections which is happening from mid server to the target machines, right? So that should be 125. And when we are doing production deployment starting, we have to be ensure the clustering, performance, and access. So Eklavya, whatever you ask, how we are going to be configure and ensuring my thing is working correctly, or the another mid server take it the work if my primary mid server is down, that will be happening using mid server clustering, right? And again, we have to use the results to scan during development, right? So whenever we are going to do developments, or in development phase of the discovery, we have to just ensure or check the logs on the time to time to see what is happening in our mid server side, what is happening on the discovery side, so we can understand if is there any issue on the mid server side, is there any warning or error we are coming while we are running discovery, that is something unexpected, right? So we have to be take care of those particular things, so my things will be running smoothly on the production side. Any questions in that particular one?
Um, can I ask?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Okay. If you can just turn on the slide back.
Yeah, of course. Let me go back. Yeah. Okay. Where I am. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I didn't follow. Consider using 2048 MB of JVM memory. That is fine, but set the tuning to 125 threads. So what exactly is this? Where exactly this can be set, and what would be the enhancement this will do in terms of connection establishments?
Right. So, okay. So let's talk about JVM memory 2048. Right. So JVM memory is something, the memory you allocated for your Java processes or the services which is running on the mid server. Right. It's just like I hope you heard about that. Now in days in mobile there are two types of memory coming. One is RAM. They are saying 8 GB RAM is there, but also they are mentioning 8 GB virtual RAM is also there in the server, right? So on that particular mobile, right? The same way here, whenever you are going to be asked for 16 GB RAM, that is allocated for your infrastructure. But in that particular one, you can allocate, you can provide some memory to for your Java processes. That is JVM memory, right? It will improve that performance of your application, because again, mid application is running on a Java. It's a lightweight Java application end of the day, right? So if you're allocating some memory, it will increase the performance. Second thing, set the tuning to 125 threads. It's just a thread, right? Threads means in simple word, if I say the not connection is not the correct word. Threads is just a connect transactions with the target machine, right? So in single go, when it's going to be connect through the mid servers, what threads he can capture, or what threads he can pass to the target machines to get the informations, and that both configurations is possible in the mid server. While when we are installing mid server, we'll showcase you, but these are possible while you are installing the mid server, and after installing the mid server as well, you can increase and decrease that particular things in the mid server configuration file.
Okay.
And the mid server setup.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just go to the ServiceNow instance quickly. So what I am trying to showcase you, this one, Mid Server cluster. Yeah, here. I hope Mid Server is up.
When we are talking about the clustering, it could be either load balance and
Server, what is? Yes. So I'm just creating a new clustering. I think Mid Server is not. Oh, Mid Server is. Yes, it's not up. Let me do one thing right away. Let me validate till the time. And we'll come, what is the validation, what is things when we are going to install the Mid Server. But till the time, let's me enable it. Right. So here, if you see here in the cluster, you just need to provide the name. Okay, and how you want to do. You want to a failover, you want to a load balancer. If I just select as a failover and submit it, let me go back. Right here, it's a mid server clustering happening, test and failover, and we can select two mid servers here, right? So we can give the order of the mid servers. I mean, as of now, we have one mid server only, but we can give two mid server here, and we can provide the order that word first mid server is 100 order, second mid server is 200 order, and that both will work in order only, right? Now, where we can use this one as a mid server clustering, if I go to here and showcase you in discovery schedule, let me go and open this. If I configuring a new discovery schedule, here. So if we are selecting a specific mid server cluster, we can select a particular cluster, whatever we have configured just now. Why it's not coming? Yeah, see, so we have configured this one, and in cluster we have specifically mentioned it's a failover, right? And we have put it the order. So always my jobs or my transactions which is running or processed by the which order is lower. So if first mid server order is lower, that will be processed by them only, and that particular things again we can track in discovery logs. Okay, which mid servers the transactions is processed. If my first mid server or primary mid server down, then automatically my transactions will be moved out to the second mid server using that particular configuration, right? Second thing you
just
asked, yeah, go ahead.
just to stay on this screen itself, it says mid server selection method and the specific mid server cluster. Can you just drop down?
Hi, of course, yes.
So we have specific mid server, auto selected mid server, and use behavior. Okay, behavior is altogether different,
Yeah.
and these are the three things. Okay.
Right. So auto select, if you are not putting anything, it will select auto select mid servers,
Yeah.
which have again, which mid server have application as a discovery. It's not going to be select any other mid servers. If you don't provide any application on the discovery, it will select anything. So make sure you are providing the correct application on it, right? Sometimes we are not, thinking about that, and we are putting all applications. If it all applications, that mid server is going to use everywhere. If it can be used in event management, it can be used in, service mapping or discovery. If you have not forcefully aligned that particular mid server is going to use for that from your configuration. Right, so that is the auto select. A specific something if you want to be run that particular things using one mid server only. Like sometimes we don't have backup available, but in DMZ we cannot run or we cannot do discovery directly from that mid servers. We required a specific mid server in customers DMZ zone, right? So
yeah.
then we going to be use the only one mid server which is responsible for that, right? And the behavior again will tell you about that, right? I just want to
If
show.
I quickly ask you one question, probably that would be a little helpful for everyone.
Of course,
What would be the best course of action when we have a bigger network and like say example you have a 50 mid servers selection mentioned over here. So what would be the best approach to the nomenclature of that, like, whether it's a naming or how we can just do that?
Right. So my what I am always following based on the nomenclature of the mid server. When you are installing mid server, you have ability to provide the specific name to that mid server, right? So I'm always trying to following what what my mid server it is. So I'm just starting with the mid server data center. I will starting what is the use of the mid servers. My data center belongs to example Mumbai. So I will start with Mumbai. Yeah, or in different way I will tell you. Let's start with that mid server is going to for your discovery. So let's start with disco underscore Mumbai underscore what is the use of the mid server then. So that I'm going to use or use it, or couple of organizations have their standard naming conventions which not allowed you to provide your naming conventions, so they will provide you what standard naming conventions you have to be follow, then you have to be follow those particular standard nomenclatures, right?
Honestly speaking, I mean, I had a bad experience, like, because in my previous client, like, they were having the all over world's football teams name has been mentioned, so it was very tough to just find out which team or which mid server is doing what.
Definitely agreed, right? But again, that somewhere that particular thing should be documented and aligned with that, right? If that will happen with me as well, a couple of times when we are going to implement. So my first thing is always like, when I'm going to be discussed and they align me some discovery task, I'm trying to understand how their network working, what mid server is responsible for what data centers, what locations, and why that nomenclature is required like that, right? Because we have to do couple of time troubleshooting, we have to do reinstalling the mid servers and all, and we have to be take care. And second thing, the mid server access and what mid server user they are using on that, right? So we are going to be discuss on those particular things as well with the customers to get more understanding about it, right? If I see, one organization have 100 mid servers, but as I mentioned, 100 mid servers comes in the picture when you have 100 locations and that are not connecting to each other, and this is what that I feel that is not the good way, because managing 100 mid servers again a different challenge, right? But and also they are that much capable, they provided you 100 allocations or 100 virtual machine allocations to you, it's a big cost again, right? So but it depends, they are ensuring security threats, they are ensuring that performance, they are ensuring the mid server issues should not be, right? So it depends again, as I mentioned, we cannot assume, or we cannot, I cannot give you that confirmations that is only going to be used on that side. It only depend on the discussions in workshop sessions with the customers, how many mid server, what is the nomenclature, and what thing will be there. And also, if they don't have any specific nomenclature, you can also select your nomenclature name to them.
I guess it's a funny thing, like, the previous admin, he was like, having a love for football, soccer. So he did something like, and now everyone is paying the price for that.
Definitely. Right. And also, if you have multiple mid server for same location, you can put one or two or three, whatever, right? So it depends like how you want to be do or configurations, that particular thing. But that my assumptions, the naming conventions should be that much comfortable and even look to that name conventions, and he is able to understand that is the correct, or that is the use is going to use for that particular thing specifically, in simple words, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
any other questions? Abhi, yeah, you raise your hand.
Yeah, Ajay. So Ajay, regarding DMZ, what is your recommendation? Like, if suppose we are having multiple restricted zones, then do we recommend to have separate mid server for each of the DMZ, or?
It depends again, right? So if customer DMGB is connecting to each other, then one mid server is enough. And if it is not, because DMG is open to internet, right? So customer is not going to be use the same mid servers which you are using for their prod infrastructures, right? So separate mid servers, separate things will be configured, and separate, access will be provided to you. And most of the time which I face, you will not get the complete access on the DMZ zone, and you cannot run or you cannot complete the discovery due to security compliance management from the customer side. But different mid servers, I suggest different mid servers should be required for that.
Okay. And Ajay, one more thing. Like you said, discovery schedule should be one after another.
Hmm.
So if suppose my second or third schedule is failing, so that means like afterwards, whatever schedule is there after that schedule, all will stop.
Definitely. So, failing means because there is no failed in discovery. If you know what will happen, that will be cancelled or that will be completed. Right? There is no status called failed in discovery schedules, if I'm not wrong. Right. So if it is taking more time, then till the time my another schedules will be wait. Or
Okay.
you have to be conditions there. If let's take an example. You can also configure that one thing as well. So daily basis my one schedule taking half an hour to complete. You can put 1 hour. If it is going beyond that 1 hour, automatically your discovery schedule should discovery should stop and will trigger the next one. You can put the max runtime for that discovery schedule. Getting my
Can you repeat, Ajay? Sorry, I missed that.
let me right. After repeating, yeah, if you are able to see my screen on the discovery schedule, here is the location. You can put like what you are doing where after discovery, right? So you are putting after discovery. So first, discovery schedule your primary. Second is will run after completing this particular one example, this schedule, but you can put max run time. So I'm just putting 2 hours max run time. So if that particular uh, you know uh, going to be fail, if that is taking more than 2 hours, it's automatically cancelled, and the next discovery schedule will be triggered, which is after discovery of it, right? So you are
Okay.
selecting that means that is primary. Load balancer service is primary. Again, in load balancer service primary discovery schedule, you put maximum time is 2 hours. So if it is going beyond that 2 hours and you observe that is not taking 2 hours, it's only taking 30 minutes or 40 minutes. So 2 hours is more than enough to be complete if any new devices or anything new configuration is done at their side, customer side, right? So it's automatically cancelled if it is taking 2 hours, and then it will trigger the next after discovery schedule, and then the same thing will be working for another different schedules.
Okay. Yeah, got it, Ajay. Thanks.
And you can also see here, even if cancels, right? That will run after even if cancels. This particular schedule is cancelled, or this particular load balancer service is cancelled. This particular schedule will be triggered after discovery. So that is again up to us.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Ritam is also raised his hand. Yes, Ritam.
Yeah, I have two questions. Like, what will be the preferable mode, like the load balancer is or the failover cluster?
In my case, I'm always prefer to use the failover. Why? Because load balancer, why we do a load balancing here? I'm just trying to understand, because if we configure our discovery schedule in the proper way with the proper configuration and proper IPs schedules, right? Or IP ranges, we're not required to do that load balancing. Just go with the failover. If my this is not working, then second thing will be work. That's why I'm saying we have to go with the some little extra configurations apart from the service now which provided, so we can run the operations smoothly for discovery and all.
Okay. And another question is that can we use the same mid server in two different clusters?
Yeah, same mid server in two different clusters, yes, you can use it. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
You can use it, right? But that can be depend again, but you can use it, right? But again, my suggestion is not to use the same mid server in different clusters.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yes. Anyone have any other questions?
Ajay,
Yeah.
Ajay, you mentioned that the same mid server can be used in discovery as well, in other applications as well. So where it will be mentioned that like this mid server is for only this purpose, nowhere it's mentioned, right? We can just reuse that multiple times.
Right, but my suggestion is always, and this is the standard suggestions, not from from the ServiceNow as well. We should not use a single mid server for different purposes. Let me showcase you quickly. If you are able to see my screen, I am on the mid server. Let me see if it is, yes, it is up. Let me go here. What will be the issue? If you see the supported applications here, it's all. If I go to add it, it's all now, right? It means that mid server can be act for everything, whatever we are running in service, whatever we are running here in service now for auto select configuration, right? So it's not good. Like if let's take an example, your discovery is running and the same time your event or service mapping is also run, the load will be very high on that mid server, and due to that the stress on that mid server will be down, your service, everything will be impacted, right? So that's why my suggestion is only use, if you are using for discovery, use the one mid server, and if you're using for service mapping as well, right? Because the same mid server can be used for discovery and service mapping, but try to configure schedule in that way that will not overlap, that will not increase the stress on the Windows server, or your things will be running smoothly. That
Okay.
is the only reason we are avoiding. Like one more example. If you are using for integration, right? Integration having the lots of transactions happening from the third party tool, right? And the same mid service is going to be used for discovery, and your discovery is going to be run at 9 p.m. IST in evening, right? And XYZ reasons the integration mid server is down. Your discovery is impacted completely. Getting my point? So it should avoid to impact any impact. It should avoid to impact on different applications due to some other application. Right? If your integration is down, okay, let's handle by the integration team, but your discovery should not be impacted due to that. Otherwise, you're blaming your integration mid server is down. What should I do? You have to be fixed it because my discovery is running. Sometimes if your discovery due to some discovery things, your mid server, the integration mid server down, they will blame you. You are giving heavy load on that mid server. Why you have to be check the logs and all, right? So it's again go to an arguing mode, right? That should be avoided. So we should use specifically for specific applications that mid server.
And then if this mid server would have been used for LDAP or integration, we should have selected the mid server management. Like now you have selected discovery, right?
Let me go back. So no, if that mid server is going to be collect for India, now let me, you can select all here, but specifically, let me showcase you. If you are using for integrations, go to the capabilities and select the particular capability for which you're using, right? So here, REST API is there, SOAP is there. You can use for which purpose you're using that particular mid server.
Okay.
Got it. So here, if you see Ansible, if we are going to use for automations or Ansible jobs and calls, we can use, if we are using for discovery, a specific type of discovery, like if we want to discover Windows or VMware, we can use that. SSH is Linux for that, right? SNMP is for that, right? So it's again, Kubernetes, right? So we can define the capabilities apart from application on that mid server for what thing we are going to use that.
Sorry, Ajay.
Yes.
All these are related to this mid server application or mid server itself.
So that's related to mid server, not mid server applications. Whatever application you have selected, on top of it, you can also do some filtration or restrictions that mid server will be used for that purpose only. Okay.
Actually, there is one mid server for dev and one for test and two for prod. So
Right.
that's
You have to do on different configurations for each mid servers.
oh,
It's
this is
not
only
sorry.
this is only related to configuration.
Yes, it is related to the configuration only. It just in simple word, if I say Pratikant, one person have multiple numbers and he want to reach you, right? But one specific number you have put it to blacklist, right? So he's not able to reach you from that number, but he's able to reach you for a different number. The same way here, it's just a configurations. If you are putting REST or SNMP, so that particular jobs will able to reach you, but not the WMI and other one as a capability. Right. So if you want to discover specific type of machines using that mid servers, you can restrict that one. Another example is if you have a DMG zone, right? And DMG, you have only Windows machine. So why you use SSH and all, right? You just put Windows WMI here as a capability and use that mid servers, and that will be more focusing on Windows only. That will not require to do any other jobs on that through that mid servers, right? I hope I'm able to help you out to clear that one, right? Okay, now let me see what is the next. Right. Yeah. Any other questions from anyone?
Ajay, I have a question. On host, how many mid servers can we install? Like,
I
is there any particular?
No, again, there is no particular one. It depends on the mid server size, mid server infra size. You have get it from customer. But my suggestion is to avoid install multiple mid application on a single host. Right. That's why I especially mentioned one mid server is responsible for one instance. Right. But end of the day, if you are, let's take an example. End of the day, you have one infra or one host, you have installed two mid applications. End of the day, it just like you're just putting more stress on it, right? The same you can also do from one mid server itself. Why you need to do two mid servers to be installed on it, right?
Okay, Ajay, got it.
Avoid that one, but if if necessary, if customer wants that particular things done by that mid server, and that just to differentiate in capabilities example, or just to differentiate for the application purpose, right? You can install two mid servers, three mid servers on a single host, but not more than. And again, you have to be managed their capable JVM memory. You have to be managed their what I called threads and all.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
Let me
Yeah.
quickly share you one thing. Okay, where I am. Okay, so I just mentioned couple of softwares which is required to be installed on mid server, and that softwares is help out to easy a discovery developer life, right? So we have discussed about these, but softwares, let me talk about, right? So as I mentioned, GRE version, .NET framework, right? So that I had not mentioned in the slide, but it will be good if that machine have the GRE version 1.8 or JDK version 1.8.0, right? So to run my application smoothly, then definitely we required a browser, Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, that should be installed. Sometimes what is out of the box coming is or whatever, right? It's not working properly, and it's creating lots of issues to us. So just focus, just ask customer, and that sometimes that is not allowed by the customer as well. Be frank, right? So just if when you're giving prereq, just give your prereq. That is, it will be good if you can give it me a browser on that particular instance mid server, right? Fourth thing is Microsoft SQL Server Management Library, SMO, should be installed on it. PowerShell is installed on it. Notepad++ softwares. As you know, I hope you are working on in the integration sites and know where Notepad++ is going to be help you out, right? It will help you out to read the logs. It will help you out to read the configurations. It will help you out a lot of things, right? It will easy your life. Agar if you don't have the Notepad++ and if you want to see the logs and notepad file, it's very hectic sometime to be manage or understand those particular things, right? Then port query softwares is required to be check the connections between mid server to target network, target host, or the UDP ports specifically, right? TCP ports you can do telnet, but couple of times what will happen, customer is not allowing the telnet to do from that machine directly. So you can also ask port query software from customer install on that machine, so you can do you can check the test connections between your mid server to the target machine which you want to be discovered. Okay, that can be TCP or UDP, but that more use find in UDP ports, right? Because UDP port you cannot telnet directly from the command prompt, but port query will help you out to give that particular answer, okay, that port is able to connect or not. Then SNMP Walk software, again, it's a freeware. So SNMP Walk software, when you are doing the troubleshooting related to window or network devices, SNMP devices, that will help you there to troubleshoot, right? You can put the network device IP or credentials on that particular application, and you can test on you can run the SNMP Walk, and you can able to get it where on which level your SNMP or that particular credentials is able to access it. Sometimes what customer says, I'm not able to get that particular informations, I'm not able to see that. So you can run that particular SNMP work software to check the connections basically, or check the data. Last is manage engine SNMP browser. That is just come useful when you are doing, or when you want to be understand that what is available in OIDs, or what is available in, I'm just forgetting the name. There is one file comes from the customer side to understand OIDs, right? So you can upload.
OEM.
Uh, Sorry,
OEM.
I think OEM, not sure. I think let me check. I'm just forgetting the name. Might be it's OEM or something. MIB, not OEM.
Okay.
Right, so you will get MIB from file from the customers, and if you want to see what OID useful for what things and all informations, you can use that as an MP, manage engine as an MP browser. So my suggestions, just ask those particular softwares, so it will very easy, it will make easier life to be do troubleshootings. It will help you to do things in great manner. My personal thing is, what I feel, if something is running slowly for me, I'm not able to do work. If it is ServiceNow instance, or it is mid server, or it is, I'm get frustrated in within 10 or 15 minutes. That's why I'm not using Windows machine sometimes. So I understand lots of people's different natures, different things. So these things I'm just taking care before providing to the customers that I require to do that. Without
Ajay,
that, you know,
the MIBs mostly like management information binaries. These
yeah,
are the one which is like coming with the product, not
yes.
from the customer.
Yeah, that is coming from the product, but what is, we can ask, because we don't have the product access directly, right? Customer have the product access because he's using that particular product, right? So why? Because customer able to provide that MIBs, and we can understand what is the OID structure of that particular device or product customer have, and what and what and where which OIDs, what information is going to be stored. Most of the time, when I use this particular file as an MP browser is for event management, when I'm integrating with SolarWinds or any other different tool, but they are using the SNMP method or SNMP traps to send the details to ServiceNow. So that will help in that particular case to understand this OID is coming this, and this OID is, that OID in that information coming to this OID, as well as we will get the complete visibility about the types of, flavors of that particular product, right? So if, if I'm just forgetting again the name of it, right? So you can use that particular to understand the complete view of that particular MIB. I hope you get it.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, guys, from anyone else? I think we are on the time now.
So that Excel sheet that you are showing, right? So that you will be sharing with us.
No, sorry. If you
At
need,
least the software names that you mentioned, right? So
yeah, I can share this one.
yeah.
It's not a big deal for me. I will put on the chat right away that, if you need something, I can share with you right away. You can take the screenshot, you can do whatever you want, right? I don't have any issue with that. But everything whichever I'm going to be share or showcasing you, everything is available in ServiceNow documentation.
Okay.
So you can that you can go to that now create and you can see lots of document available for ITOM. And that PPT which I'm created here, I just created using the now create data only, not from myself, right? So I just go there, try to understand that couple of PPTs, and then I've just created that particular they have 160 or 170 pages PPTs, right? I just split down in what is most required for that, right?
But Ajay, you have a customized one. Na?
That's why I have the customized one, definitely. Okay, any other questions from anyone, guys? Or we are good for today? No?
No, Ajay, all good.
Thank you. Anyone else? Or okay, then we'll meet again tomorrow at the same time. Till that time, have a good day. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you, Ajay. Bye bye.
Okay, guys, bye-bye.
Thank you, Ajay.